Welcome back to the Surround Sound Podcast, where I am your host, R. Hunter Jr., the truth and not a rumor. We had a great time with the author of the Heezy Hoopcast, Mr. Bread versus Yoga. We talked a little NBA earlier in the show. Make sure you go and download the show from the iHeartRadio app or the Apple Podcasts. Either one of those joints will get you where you want to go as far as the show is concerned. And you'll be able to hear him. We also got into a lot of stuff as far as on entertainment section and entertainment report. A lot of good things. The sign of the times, and once again, big shouts out to everybody that's live with me right now on Facebook. Yeah, that's what that is. Facebook, and everybody watching on Instagram. Appreciate you checking out my Instagram TV joint. The sign of the times for this week. First of all, I have given you guys kind of like I've given you guys a summary, some of the best from some of our past sign of the times in the past like 3-4 weeks, just to kind of let you guys, once again know how we doing this thing, what we're doing with this thing. But on the sign of the times for this week, the title is False Prophets. Now, I'm very careful as I'm using that term, false prophets, because in no way am I saying that these people's hearts are not in the right place. The only thing that I would like to share and show is how sometimes we don't hold people's feet to the fire, and where they could possibly drift off into a false prophet type of mindset. And the whole term, the whole thought process comes from a J. Cole song, the one that you've just heard on this podcast. J. Cole recorded a song by the name of False Prophets back in 2016. It examined how we as purveyors of entertainment look at entertainers because they can do an art form real well. And that's cool if you can do an art form real well. It's thought by many hip-hop aficionados, though, that in the first verse of that song, J. Cole was referring to Kanye West. What that diggity dang. What a good place to start off. Kanye West, in the last week to 10 days, has had his name in the friggin' news more than anybody I know. Some of it's been good, some of it's been bad. Kanye West announced that he's going to have a biblical opera on the King Nebuchadnezzar. He had a concert at Joel Osteen's mega church in Houston. This dude even announced a joint song that he's doing with Dr. Dre by the name of Jesus is King Part 2. This man even wanted to change his name to Christian genius billionaire Kanye West. Just for a little bit, though. Just for a little bit. Now, what's interesting about this is before all of those things happened, Kanye sold about 32,000 copies of a gospel-themed album. Yes, we know that Kanye is a hip-hop artist, but he sold, I'm talking about just really went crazy on the gospel charts. Now, once again, and you'll hear me say this for all 4 people that I am referencing in this false prophets section. It's kind of interesting to me because one thing I do know about the Bible is that there's this saying that a rich man will have a harder time getting to heaven than a camel will getting through the eye of a needle. But you're changing your name to Christian genius billionaire Kanye West. Although just for a little bit. But I mean, he made Jesus walks. And if there is any song that really spoke to me in college, it was Jesus Walks. Because Kanye said, if you take away from my sins, you'll probably take away from my spins, and that will probably take away from my ends. Ends being money. And one day you'll be screaming about, next time in the club, everybody singing about Jesus Walks. But then you do a concert at the mega church. And then while you're at the mega church, you announce that you have an opera on the way called Nebuchadnezzar. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was very important in the Old Testament when relating to Daniel and this, that, and the third, and really Nebuchadnezzar's real claim to fame in my eyes was the fact that he said that Daniel's God was the God. Another story for another day. I'll say this in closing up the Kanye West portion of this Sign of the Times. He wanted to change his name, huh? That's interesting. Because the man's name is Kanye Omari West. Omari means speaker, chief, and is of Hebrew origin. Also means God is exalted in Swahili. I'll leave that right there for your estimation. But let's go to Jay-Z. Old Jigga. If there's one thing that I can say about Jay-Z, through all of his interviews, through all of his raps, in a time where so many rappers really are not living what they're doing in one way, form, shape, form, or another, just about everything, like every major thing, like Jay-Z, he's did it. He has did it. When he got to a point, I remember on Black Album, he said that if he really wanted to, he probably would be closer to Talib Kweli as far as his rap lyrics. But he said, you know what? To really get the money, I'm not gonna be quite Talib Kweli. And I'm gonna give people a little bit more party joints, a little bit more non-substance rap music. But when I get the money, I'm gonna start that wave. Hence Kanye West, hence J. Cole. Well, back in August, Jay announced a new partnership with the NFL. He and Rock Nation would handle the Super Bowl entertainment for said NFL. Backlash is not even a word right now to describe that. Like he received major backlash for that. And now when it comes to the Colin Kaepernick thing, it's said, is he the fall guy? Did Roger Goodell make him the fall guy for the NFL? Because it's also said that Jay-Z orchestrated or helped to orchestrate this workout that we'll get to in a little bit. Makes me wonder, is the Jigga Man, is Hove a false prophet? Moving right along. Stephen A. Smith is a sports pundit on ESPN. And he is highly fulminant over Colin Kaepernick. What's interesting there is, as angry as he is over what Colin Kaepernick has and has not done, one thing Smith has done in the last month or so is signed a very lucrative deal with ESPN. So it makes me wonder, after you sign such a lucrative deal, could there be any puppeteering? Could there be some people that want you to be the spokesperson for a certain mode of thinking? I don't know. But it's been a lot of people saying that, you know what? Let's trade Stephen A. Smith for other sports pundits. Lastly, Colin Kaepernick. Like, to even like gain the total thought process from Colin and what has went on since 2016, we got to kind of do it in a timeline. I've used 2 pieces of paper for this. Like, okay, let's get the understanding. We have something that Colin Kaepernick is doing politically. We have his job, and then we have how well he's doing at said job. All right, let's start off with why he did or why he's doing what he's doing. This whole thing started because of the amount of black people getting killed or injured due to the hands of law enforcement. Regardless of how you feel about it, we ain't got time right now for that. You make sure you put it in the margin how you feel, and we'll worry about that then. That's the reason how it started. In 2016, that's the first time he took a knee. He took a knee after speaking with a military veteran that talked him out of sitting for the national anthem. That's the reason why he took a knee, because the veteran did not want him to sit. So how this whole thing got misconstrued and said that he was against military, I don't know. Now, let's get to how well or how not so well he played. At the end of the 2016 season, he was without a job. Not because of his own volition. Not because of the team's volition, but because he opted out of his contract. Now, one note to that. It's later been said that John Lynch, who is the GM of the team, it was said that he said now. You know what I'm saying? We got to end some he said, she said. But it was later said that he said he was going to cut him anyway. So regardless, that's how the narrative was going to roll. All right? He was going to be without a job. All right. Now, after he was already a backup to like some no-name quarterback, I don't even know his name. There it goes right there. He came in a backup role like with 10 games left. He threw 16 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. That is very good. That is very good. Like that was the main thing when I looked at stats that I couldn't really get past as far as, you know, him coming back and being signed. Like, you threw 16 touchdowns, only 4 picks. Like, that's 4-to-1. Like, that's not the greatest ever. But it for damn sure is better than every third string in the NFL. Now, last year, the year before that, and 2016. Let that be known. Let's bring it on down. And I'm leaving certain things out because we ain't got time. But in 2018, Nike came out with a commercial. Believe in something even if it means you have to give up everything or something like that. Now, this is where it starts in the possible false prophet area. It seemed to me, I was like, you know what? Maybe Colin wants to be a martyr. Because he had messed up several chances by certain things he said, by certain things his fiance has said. And when he came out with that commercial, I was like, maybe he wants to be a martyr, because he would stand to be way more profitable in being a martyr than he would by possibly even coming back. Like, literally, if he's not that good and he comes back, and he's not that good, his whole thing really is down the drain. So is this some type of just, you know, fake doing it for the culture type thing? We'll get to that in just a second. 2019, this past week, NFL workout. Early last week, somebody said that Cap was gonna get a workout. I was like, man, please, I'm tired of this. I didn't even listen to it. And he will work out at the Atlanta Falcon facility in ATL. All right. Midweek, the NFL sent him a waiver to sign and some more things. And when I say and some more things, like they sent him the waiver, he got to sign it to get the workout. So it's it's attached to something. Okay, I get it. The NFL is a business. Now the waiver is now what's the interesting part of this. I'm going to tell you what the waiver says. Well, I'm going to tell you what the waiver said. And I'm paraphrasing because I read it, but I mean, it's legal jargon and all that. Essentially, the waiver said something like, hey, and this comes on the heels of Colin Kaepernick winning a collusion case against the NFL, which makes this all the more incredible in my mindset because it was said that he won some 10, 15, I'm guesstimating. He won some millions of dollars. And I'm like, okay, if you won the case on collusion, you don't get to come back and play in the friggin' NFL. Like, you don't get to do both. So, all the more wrecking my brain and thinking that maybe Colin is a false prophet. Because ain't no way in hell you gonna come back and be a quarterback in the NFL when you just won a collusion case. On top of that, why would you even want to come back and play for a league where you think they colluded against you for you never to play a sport that you have trained your whole life for? All right, let's go ahead and move on. The waiver says something to the effect of, hey, this workout is not a promise of anything. Like if you get on, then you get on. If you don't, you don't. If you signing this paper is not anything saying that you're going to get a job. Now, of course, you just won a collusion case. So they need something to CYA. Roger Goodell was like, okay, yeah, I got to do this time because he going to have another collusion case. Another collusion case. So Saturday, now this was so smart. Like, it was some... The first mention of this Colin Kaepernick, it was like 32 teams was coming. The second mention, it was like 25 teams was coming. Then Saturday, the day of, dude, like the day of this dude, the day of the workout, Colin says, hey, apparently he did sign it, and he moved the practice all the way to Riverdale, Georgia. Now, it plummeted from 32 to 25 to 8 were there. And only 6 of the 8 watched. All right. And people like Stephen A. Smith were so upset because of that. Main reason being like, hey, you were in an NFL facility. You had everything right there at your palm to succeed. But what Stephen A. isn't realizing, and what makes me wonder, is he a false prophet? Is because these people don't really want him like that. We know this, Stephen. But the counter argument made me think that Colin is the false prophet because you did have everything in your fingertips, like it's controlled environment. But what's awfully funny, though, where the NFL comes back in it, they didn't want Colin to have his own receivers, and they didn't want him to have his own media camera crew. They eventually caved in on the receivers, but they didn't cave in on the media. It makes me think that Colin Kaepernick outsmarted the NFL in that instance. But you know what? As I come down to the end of this thing, we have 2 more. We got 2 more things. First up, these things challenge the narrative of Colin Kaepernick. if and only if Colin was actually doing this for real for the culture, as far as the anthem protest, it would have seemed like after so much, he got so much press for this, it would have seemed like Colin would have did something that I think would have been so incredibly notable. He would have got the NFL to play the Black National Anthem just like they did Monday night when they were in Mexico and they played the Mexican National Anthem. That would have been huge. That would have been monumental. That would have put an impact on America that would just have been just so awesome. That's one. Secondly, and then I got one more thing. If you were really doing it for the culture, if and only if you were really doing it for the culture, you would not have been so quiet, Colin Kaepernick, these past years. Because the only time that we really heard from you, Colin, you really weren't saying much. You're kind of responding to things that people have said about you. And that's not the way to go about this if you're trying to be, once again, for the culture, and you know you have to be proactive in this approach. Because many have said ill of you, including Jay-Z, including Marcellus Wiley. If you're really doing this for the culture, if you're really doing this for the people, you in some way have to mobilize and monetize the march, the protest, into dollar signs for the people. But I'll say this in closing. I saw Colin Kaepernick had on a Kunta Kinte shirt. And in the article that I saw, it said something to the effect that Colin Kaepernick is associating himself with a slave. And in the picture, the shirt said Kunta Kinte. Now this made me mad because now you have totally missed the point on Colin Kaepernick wearing that shirt. Let us not forget, Kunta Kinte was the name of the slave that wanted to be free. If his shirt would have said Toby, then he would associate it with the slave. But LeVar Burton and Kunta Kinte said they were free, regardless of if I'm in bondage or not. So it almost makes me wonder again. Colin is saying that, hey, even if you give me the job or not, I'm still free. I don't know who the false prophet is. Hopefully we'll see. For super producer, Troy in the booth. For Matasha Navarro. For Nicole and Laverne. I am the host of the Surround Sound Podcast, R. Hunter Jr., the truth and not a rumor. In the words of Jerry Springer, the scholar, be good to yourself and each other. See y'all next time. Have a good Thanksgiving.